This video will be covering the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, the first thing that you need to know for sure is that you can only use the Pythagorean Theorem whenever you have a right triangle. So whenever you're given a right triangle, and then we're going to call this side A, side B, and side C. C is always going to be opposite of the 90 degrees, and the formula is going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So again, this only works whenever you're dealing with a right triangle. So you use this formula to find the value of c, to find the value of b, or to find the value of a. This formula will never change. Now, to be able to work with this formula, you need to make sure that you know basic algebraic expressions. So you need to be able to isolate for variables. The longest side, like we mentioned, which is going to always be c, it's also known as the hypotenuse. So let's see an example of this. We're going to be looking for the value of c. So we're going to say that this is c, and then we're going to have 3 down here and 4 right here. And again, this is going to be a right triangle. So the first thing that we need to do is write the formula. We have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Again, keep in mind that this is c because this is going to be the longest side opposite to 90 degrees. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to plug in numbers. We're going to start with a is going to be equal to 3 squared plus 4 squared is going to be equal to c squared. Now let's solve this problem. So we're going to square the numbers that we have. So 3 times 3 is going to be 9, plus 4 times 4 is going to be 16, and that's going to be equal to c squared. Now we're going to combine those two and you get 25. Now that you have 25, we need to get rid of this exponent right here. So to get rid of that exponent, you're going to find the square root. And if you do it to one side, you must do it to the other. So the square root and the exponent are going to cancel, and the square root of 25 is going to be 5. So c is equal to 5. So we can come right here and say that c is equal to 5. Now for this example, we're going to have something a little bit different. Now we have our formula, and we're going to write a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Now we have the longest side, this is going to be 25, and then we also have another side that is going to be 20. So we actually know that the hypotenuse in this one is going to be 25 squared, and then we have a square plus 20, which is our b square. Now we're going to square, so we're going to put a square plus 400 is equal to 625. 20 times 20 gives you 400, 25 times 25 gives you 625. Now I want to subtract 400 from both sides. This is going to cancel, and now you have a squared is equal to 225. Now we're going to find the square root of both sides. The square root of 225 is 15. So that's how you solve for that missing variable. So if you're solving for C, this is what you need to do. The first thing that you must do every single time is write the formula. The next thing that you need to do, plug the numbers for A and B. After you have plugged in the numbers for A and B, the next step that you need to do is square the values of A and B. The fourth step is add A squared plus B squared. And then once you have that, you're going to find the square root. From both sides. Keep in mind that this is only whenever you're solving for C. So in the previous example, let's use that information. So we wrote the formula. So we're going to plug in the value, which was 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. Then we square the values, so that was 9 plus 16 is equal to C squared. Then the next thing is add those values, so 25 equals to C squared. And lastly, you find the square root. So the square root of 25, and the square root of C squared, and that's going to give you 5. Alright, this is only whenever you're solving for A or B. So the first thing you need to do is write the equation. The next thing is you're going to input or plug in the values given. So plug in values given. So that means that you're going to input C and A or B. So if you're going to be looking for A or B. The next thing is going to square the values. Then you're going to isolate the variable. So if you're solving for A, that's a variable you're going to leave by itself. If you're solving for B, that is a variable that you're going to leave by itself. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one is your A or your B, because the answer is going to be the same for the length of the triangles. So you're going to isolate by doing inverse operations. Then you're going to find the square root. So the only thing that changed, it was step 4. In the previous one, you had to combine a and b, but in this one, you're going to actually have to subtract it. So let's look at the example that we did. So we were looking for a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We didn't know the value of a, so we're going to only write the values of b, which were actually 20 squared equal 25 squared. And then that gave you a squared plus 400 equals 625. So that's when we squared our numbers. And then we need to isolate a. To isolate a, we're going to subtract 400 from each side. And that gives you a is equal to 225. And then you find the square root of that. And you get a is equal to 15.